Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to expand on the work that your arms and hands are doing during the free release. I think one of the main problems that we have in golf is how complicated what's happening with our arms and hands is, and getting any kind of drill to actually help us to learn the way that the arms and hands should be working in the golf swing is very difficult simply because of the complicated nature of it. Getting your arms and hands to do the right things at the right time in a golf swing is one of the most difficult parts of learning this game. And I want to give you a couple of ideas and a couple of drills to help you with exactly that. The first thing is to basically have a quick look at what's actually happening in the swing with your arms and hands. As you take the club back, you want to be almost lifting and hinging the club immediately and allowing your lower arms to rotate to get it on plane, getting the shaft around about parallel to its starting position before it's pulled back over your shoulders by going into this kind of waiter position with your trail hand. That will bend your lead wrist out of extension into a pretty neutral position. One of the big things then is just relaxing your arms and hands, allowing the joints to move freely so that they can actually be manipulated a little bit by the weight of the club as you change direction with your body. This will cause the hinging or extra hinging in the wrists and also in the trail arm, pushing the elbow towards the body, and it will also cause you to have the feeling of the club kind of bending back and going into a slightly flatter plane. I feel it's also important at this time that you want to have a feeling of the arms almost dropping, whether you are helping them down or pulling them down slightly. It's perfectly okay, but you don't want in any way to be pushing them out. They will be moving out because of your shoulder rotation. You don't want your trail arms straightening too early in order to help them. The rest of the movement through the golf ball should be a totally free releasing of the angles that you've then built in this transition part of the golf swing through the golf ball. And that is very important because if you try and steer the club back onto the golf ball, it's going to go pear-shaped, believe me. One of the angles which is extremely difficult to get and extremely difficult to understand is as you go into this into this transition phase, what we call the move, your lead hand should be bending backwards. What's happening here is it's squaring the club face. If you rotate your hands open and then go into the transition, you will find that the lower arm gets even bigger, rotation gets bigger, and the club face is opening. But by getting your lead wrist to go into flexion, you are closing the club face up, even to the extent that when you actually get down to the ball, you can have the feeling of simply releasing this flexion into extension without a rotation or exceptional rotation of the lower arms, which gives you more club face control. So you can see that this is a really very, very complicated movement that your arms and hands are having to fulfill at high speed. And the only way to do that is to get the hands used to moving in this way, and that's why you need a couple of drills to help you. The first one is just simply a one-arm drill. And you could call this the waiter, and you could call this the stone throw, because what we're doing is we're using the trail arm, we're rotating the lead shoulder down and going up into this position of a waiter. If you do that, you'll find that the hand is automatically hinging up, hinging back, and the trail elbow is automatically bending. As you then change direction, it's staying passive. In fact, the elbow is bending even more, coming towards you. Your wrists are twisting back away from the target before you go into this feeling of skimming a stone across a lake. Your lead hand is doing a very, very similar job, but almost with opposites. As you take it back, it lifts, which is very similar, and rotates. But it is rotating again in a clockwise direction, and the lead wrist is going into a neutral position. Then as you go into the transition, you are letting the lead wrist flip back a little and then releasing it as if you were throwing a frisbee. In fact, I'll leave a link above showing you a video which shows you this kind of frisbee throw. By getting your trail arm to throw the stone and your lead arm to throw the frisbee, your trail arm to throw the stone, your lead arm to throw the frisbee, then put your lead wrist on top of your trail wrist and do both at the same time. I want you to have the feeling that you're really only getting your hands totally extended after what would have been impact. The feeling like throwing the stone on the lake, that you're releasing it out towards the lake and not into the ground. All of this will help to delay your release and also get more lean on the shaft when you're hitting golf clubs. It's this feeling of throwing, this feeling of releasing, this feeling of extending through the ball, not to the ball, that you've got to get into your body. But more important than anything, it's this feeling of being relaxed in your arms, allowing your trail arm to come into your body at the start of the downswing, allowing the angles to get even bigger as you go into the downswing before releasing them out through the ball. You do not have to decide when to release. Nature's forces will do that. But you could well find that when you start to swing a golf club, that you're unconsciously feeling when this release is happening, and therefore you're able to extend it and you're able to support it, and you're actually able to intuitively accelerate it as well. I said intuitively. You should not be thinking about this, and the more that you try to control these angles during the swing, the worse your swing or the worse the results will get. Playing good golf is about drilling a succession of movements into your body and then letting your body play the game. And like you know, that's easier said than done. If you like it, smash that like button, because that really does help the channel a lot. If you would like to become a patron to the channel, I shall leave a link below. A big thank you to all of the patrons to the channel for supporting me for so long. I'll be back next Sunday with the next one. Until then, all the very best.